I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. Welcome to the Pixel Pop Movie Podcast. It's been 3 weeks, but we're finally back. With me for this episode, I have the His Eyes Glow Blue from Too Much Spice, Ethan.
No, I can't handle spice, man. That ain't me. Hell no.
And the extremely large worm that comes up out of the sound and eats you, Lucas.
Yeah, I mean, that checks out. I eat a lot of food. It's a trait. I'm just not going to fight with what seems like a very obvious trait.
I don't think you have that many teeth, though, and flossing would be a real issue for you with that many teeth.
Wait, listen.
I don't think that worm's got teeth.
Listen, my teeth aren't that bad.
I think they're more like hairs, yeah. But anyway, it's been 3 weeks. A lot has happened. There's been some really awesome, cool, good things, and there's been some tragically sad, bad things, and we've got a lot to get through. I've certainly been watching a fair bit of new TV, so I got a little bit of stuff to yak about there. And our topic of conversation for this episode is, I guess in summary, fan influences, and that being more specific to how the world has changed and how social media in particular is impacting movie studios and directors and making things change, for better or worse, more towards what the fans want. An interesting topic, and one I think we're all going to have an opinion on, but we'll put that on pause for now because we're going to start with the news. Please take us away, Ethan.
Well, the first bit of news is some very sad news, and that is Chadwick Boseman passed away at age 43.
Yeah.
This came out of fucking nowhere.
It's a...
I think he'd kept his illness sort of fairly quiet.
It was only, I think, his agent, I think his personal trainer and close family were the only ones that knew. No one else knew about it.
Yeah. You know what's...
Apparently, I think some people in Marvel knew too. I don't know.
I'm sure Disney must have been aware at some level. I mean, he was under contract. You would say something, right? You would think.
You would assume so, but yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't think anyone was expecting him to go.
Super short version, because I know we could go on to this for hours. Super short version, what's going to happen with Black Panther 2, Lucas?
Jury.
Yeah, I think so too.
What I feel like might happen is they're not going to kill him off. They'll just make him retire and he'll just be king of Wakanda and he'll just be like mentioned off screen. He'll pass the Black Mantle thing down to Shuri, but he'll remain as king and you'll only hear about him off screen. You won't see him again. I don't feel like they'll kill him off.
Either that or they move him to the garden to be with his father.
I think that's possibly more likely, and then Shuri might come and sort of visit him at a later date, perhaps, depending on how they feel about CGing Chadwick later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get moved to a mentor role, basically.
Yeah. I'm sure that as he was getting sicker, things would have been agreed upon or that, you know, I feel like Marvel were not blindsided by this. I feel like they knew that it was as bad as it was.
Well,
and I mean, the thing is too, you got to remember, I mean, the Black Panther outfit, I guess in a way, thankfully, it's full coverage. We can put anyone in that suit. So even if they need to film a death scene, or even if she needs to talk to him later, he just keeps the mask on, right? It's not the prettiest thing ever, but it would get you through.
In saying that, though, they could also do what they did previously with Kurt Russell and Michael Douglas and stuff, where they just basically graft the younger version of the person's face onto someone else.
Yeah.
Do the handover that way.
It just
like
depends
I said, I'm sure that someone in Marvel at the very top knew that this was going to be something that would happen.
Yeah.
And I would assume there would be contingency plans in place.
I would think so too.
What's going to the most interesting thing about, like, outside of everything obviously that's happened with Chadwick, is that in terms of Black Panther, it's going to be very interesting because Ryan Coogler was almost finished writing the new script with Chadwick as the lead. So what happens there? Like, that whole script's going to be thrown out.
Absolutely, yeah.
And Ryan's going to have to start again. So, like, it's just a very interesting time right now.
Yeah, I turned 43 in less than a month.
This is also the first major profile death or incident that's hit the MCU. So whatever happens with this will set the precedent moving forward.
Anyway,
the Hollywood Reporter reported that up until about a week before his death, Chadwick was pretty much adamant that he was going to be in proper shape to start filming in March next year for Black Panther 2.
Right. Oh well.
So yeah. To move on, we have an upcoming monster comic called the Kaiju Score. It's getting a film adaptation courtesy of Sony. It is about the most dangerous heist ever attempted. 4 desperate criminals are going all in on a once-in-a-lifetime chance to steal millions of art and turn their miserable lives around. The catch, they have to pull it off under the nose of a 1,000-ton kaiju.
Okay, that sounds up your alley.
Oh, fucking A, big monsters.
Mm.
That's all I need.
Yeah,
That
sounds weird as hell, man. I'm kind of for it though. It sounds like it's definitely something that's original.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever heard of, you know, robbing something or whatever, or heist while there's a fucking... But then having said that, that's probably the perfect time to do it, because everyone's distracted.
And they just think that, I got damage in a kaiju attack. Oh, I didn't get stolen.
Yeah.
So, good cover.
Yeah, insurance fraud. Anyway, yeah, neat.
Actually, some news that I'm sure disappointed you too, and that is Altered Carbon has been cancelled after 2 seasons.
I definitely disappointed Lucas. I wasn't too fussed on season 2 at all.
And it's season 1, so yeah.
Yeah, I finished 1. I thought 1 wasn't too bad. 2 really kind of lost me. I didn't actually finish it. I got about 3/4 of the way through. But yeah, I know it upsets Lucas. He was more of a fan. Yeah, tell us, big man, what do you think? Altered Carbon, season 2, gone. Gonskis, no more.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. I don't really know what else to say. It's just, yeah, pissed me off because they're like, oh, we're going to do the anime movie thing. And then, so there was hope for like, oh, cool, okay, they're definitely investing money in this. And then out of the blue, just announcing like a straight up cancellation of the main series. Just, I don't know, really strange.
Well, next we have Nicolas Cage is going to voice a hard-drinking southern swamp dragon.
What the fuck?
Wait, what?
So, Amazon has picked up the book from Ian Colfer, Highfire. And the plot is Highfire is set in a world where dragons once ruled the earth, and Lord Highfire, voiced by Nicolas Cage, ruled the dragons. Now, however, all Highfire rules is his shack in Honey Island Swamp. He now goes by Vern and spends all his days hiding out amongst the alligators, watching cable TV, and drinking obscene amounts of vodka. Vern's world soon collides with that of Squib, a teenager mixed up in running booze for the local mob, and their mutual struggle for survival becomes entangled in their most unlikely friendship.
This sounds fucking horrible. It sounds fucking horrible.
It's Nicolas Cage, what do you expect?
So, like, I feel Nicolas Cage is trying to out Nicolas Cage himself. Nicolas Cage can do. Because, like, think about all the stuff he did in the 80s, right? And how kind of, for the most part, they were all pretty grounded in normal roles. And then, the next decade, you get to the 90s, and he's doing stuff like The Rock and Con Air and Face Off. And he's starting to dabble a little bit in that weird stuff. And then, look at the next 20 years on after that, and it's just getting progressively weirder to the point where he's going to be playing himself in a movie where he fights himself. And now, like, that man has got just an insane mind. Like, there's something not normal about this dude.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, I'm for it. Like, I'm all for weird shit, but like, damn, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Next we have The Mandalorian Season 2, October 30th is its release date for the first episode.
This was a shock for me. I didn't expect it. I thought they were going to hold it a little longer because of everything. Because you still don't have... I mean, in saying that though, I guess like you don't have any Marvel stuff coming out because that's all going to be reshooting, and I don't think... If we're going to get anything, we'll probably get Marvel... Winter Soldier and Falcon before end of year. But by this point now, we were supposed to have already had that be airing, and WandaVision was supposed to be coming up. So they're starting to kind of run out of content, I think, and they just need to get something on.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't expecting this more towards Christmas time, because right now, since Disney's taken over, Christmas time feels like Star Wars time.
Yeah.
You're waiting for the next Star Wars thing to drop. So
yeah, definitely.
I was kind of expecting this to drop maybe towards the end of November, start of December.
Yeah, well, COVID's changed the landscape of everything, so...
Yeah, for sure.
Next we have Sony is apparently in talks with Amazon to be the distributor for a high-profile package of shows which includes multiple titles, all based on Spider-Man characters.
Right, so this is going to be what, like the Amazon version of what Disney Plus is doing then, right?
Kind
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it's just gonna be on the Spider one. So like, you get Silk. Silk's apparently the first one they're gonna be doing.
Right.
She was bitten by the same spider that bit Peter Parker.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Fine for that. Ridley Scott has confirmed he's working on a new Alien movie. Thank fuck for that. Please give me another one, and hurry up before you stop making movies.
Yeah, Alien
That's
5.
all I want.
Well, maybe Alien 5, but I don't know. Yeah.
I love Prometheus. Covenant was okay.
I still wanted that Blumhouse thing, man, with the sequel. That was
Blomkamp, not
Blomkamp. Sorry, Blomkamp. Like that was the one, man. That was the story. Yeah. It was gonna be awesome. Bring back Hicks.
Alien and Blomkamp. Like that's just
yeah.
That's a 2-hour fucking wank in the cinema.
BYO Kleenex.
Yeah,
it would have been good. But I mean, look, we'll see. I like Scott for me runs hot and cold. So I've been enjoying his TV series at the moment. We'll get into that later, but we'll see. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of Prometheus or Covenant, so we'll see.
Next we have Shenmue,
the Dreamcast Sega games.
Yeah, whatever it was, yeah. That's been made into an animated series. I don't know how the fuck to say it.
Yeah, Shenmue. So hugely, wildly, massively popular Sega series. First appeared on the Sega Dreamcast, then got ported to Xbox, then PC, and everything else. They recently, I think last year or whatever, had the Kickstarter for the third one.
Yeah.
Yeah, big popular series. It's now being turned into an anime. So I don't know what it's coming to. Probably some streaming service, but I'm sure there's plenty of people that are going to be keen for that.
Next, I'm just going to add this one because the trailer for it just came out, but it's called The Trial of the Chicago 7. Based on the story of the Chicago 7, a group of 7 defendants charged by the federal government with conspiracy, inciting to riot, other charges related to anti-Vietnam War and countercultural protests that took place in Chicago, Illinois in 1968. The cast for it: Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. He was
in Watchmen.
And the Watchmen TV show and Aquaman. Sacha Baron Cohen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Michael Keaton, Eddie Redmayne, William Hurt, Thomas Middleditch, Jeremy Strong, Mark Rylance. Big cast. It's directed by Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah. Franklin Jella's in it too.
Cool.
Next, we got a clip from I Am Greta, a Hulu original documentary.
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's one of those things I think you're either going to be really keen for this or completely not interested. I don't think there's many Fed sitters on Greta.
Nah.
But, yeah, Hulu have picked up a contract, and so they're creating a documentary about her. So, if you are a fan, look for that soon.
We had a trailer for Freaky from Blumhouse. Think Freaky Friday. Well, it's Freaky Friday, except the bodies get swapped, and she gets put into the body of a highly wanted murderer.
Yeah, this is
Vaughn.
Which is odd because I mean he's done a few kind of thrillery things, but he's normally more known for his comedies. I always love seeing comedians do like dark shit.
Yeah,
I really do, because I think most comedians are probably pretty fucked up inside with their own dark shit, and then when you see them in horror movies or thrillers, you're like, yeah, let it out.
I mean, Blumhouse has continued putting out good thriller horrors, and this is from the same guy, directed by the same guy who did Happy Death Day, which are great movies.
Okay.
Next we had Borat 2, plot details and title.
Yeah, so last podcast we had the news that Sacha Baron Cohen had been seen in
filming something
as Borat. You're driving a car, and we were sort of like, I said, oh, look, it's probably a TV commercial. There's no way, because everyone knows who Borat is now, right? Well, I was wrong.
Yeah.
Borat 2 is coming. The joke is, because Borat's so popular now, it's Borat in disguise. So it's Sacha Baron Cohen as Borat, as in incognito, because everyone knows who Borat is. I don't know.
It's been edited and screened as well. They want to get it out before voting.
Oh, so it must have a heavy Trump influence or something then, I'm sure.
It says the film also said to touch on Trump and Epstein's relationship and the coronavirus, will include cameos from Mike Pence, Rudy Giuliani, and more.
This is a train wreck.
Apparently, Hold on. It
if
says
they're doing
one of
shit
the
about Trump,
cameos
Epstein,
also.
and Giuliani, holy fuck, this is going to be amazing.
It says one of the cameos also reportedly could derail a political career.
Holy shit.
Scream 5, Neve Campbell
Yep.
to reprise her role in the upcoming Scream 5 movie, and also Jack Quaid, who you know from The Boys, is being cast in the movie as in a mysterious, unknown role.
In Before He's the Killer.
Yeah, it probably will be. Terminator Salvation director apparently has a darker, unreleased cut of this movie.
Yeah, and we'll probably push this further into a topic of conversation. It was part of what sort of triggered it, but if you read his comments, it's almost like I read it and went, I just Mad Maxed. I was like, that's bait. Like it really sounds like he's trying to get a social media sort of thing happening. But anyway, we'll move on from that for now.
Next we have Joe Exotic show starring Nicolas Cage is moving forward at Amazon.
See what I mean? See what I mean? See what I mean?
You don't have to convince us that Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage. He's so Nicolas Cage, it's not even funny.
No. The dude's trying to out Nicolas Cage himself.
I know.
He has a contest with himself.
He does.
To see who can be the most ridiculous Nicolas Cage, and he's winning because he's the only one fucking playing. God damn, that man's a fucking lunatic.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know why you're laughing. It's true.
It is true. That's why it's funny. He is insane. I agree. That's why he was so good in that fucking Colors Out of Space, because he was just fucking insane.
I still have to watch that.
Yeah, he's really good in that because he's fucking insane.
Yeah, no, I really want to watch that. I've got it at home, but I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it yet. It does look cool though.
Yeah.
Second to last bit of news, Doogie Howser female-led reboot is ordered to series at Disney+.
Yeah. Do you know who starred as the original Doogie Howser?
Neil Patrick Harris, of course.
Yeah, look at him. Look at him in that picture. Look at him in that picture. Look at him. He's a tiny little weeby guy.
I only know that because of fucking Harold and Kumar, but that's the only reason.
He's so tiny. Yeah, so apparently being reboot now with a female lead, Disney Plus. Look, the trouble is you got to be careful with some of this 80s stuff. What was enjoyable and what worked in the 80s may not translate properly, 40 years later. You might have to do some serious tweaking though. If you just cut and paste, it's not going to work. So we'll see.
And our last bit of news is the official trailer for Dune.
Yeah. Looks.
I still get I'll leave this till last so Toby can never
salivate all over it, man. It looks good. It looks good. Even if you're not interested in it, like at least you got to say it looks good. It looks good.
So like the thing you're saying before about how, the big worm teeth. To me, it looks like they're taking inspiration from a whale's mouth, and they have hair all through it.
Yeah, it's
That's what
possible.
it looks like to me.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, the earlier film, they definitely look more like teeth, and there's not as many of them. The David Lynch thing. I don't recall. I mean, I know in the book, I'm pretty sure it just says hundreds of teeth or something like that from memory. So yeah, it's probably lifted from that. But yeah, it looks really good. It looks really good. This movie, so it's not a spoiler. This movie is only going to be the first half of the book, so to speak. Whereas the original Lynch movie kind of rushed through the second half. This is going to take its time. So assuming this does well enough, they'll do the second film, and that'll be the second half of the book. Yeah, I mean, there's some big names in it. Everyone looks good.
I was actually going to ask you about that. Like, compared to like how they should look, how did everyone look?
Yeah, look, in some ways, I mean, look, I'm obviously grew up with the Lynch version, so I'm sort of biased there. But to be fair, the casting in this is probably more accurate towards the book in this one than the original Lynch one was. Paul is only meant to be sort of 15 or 16 years old. He's not. He's still a teenager. Duncan, who's being played by Jason Momoa, he's meant to be a very charismatic, suave kind of person that everybody likes and loves. And when you see the Lynch film, the character doesn't come across like that at all. So, whereas Momoa is probably better suited to that, and just physically, his description in the book matches Momoa much closer. Yeah. So, I think the casting's pretty good. I think Denis done his homework, and I was
actually going to say, as to Momoa, like he's also a naturally charismatic dude to begin with, so he sounds like he kind of fits the role perfectly.
Yeah, well, because in the book too, he's talked about, he sort of sounds almost like more like a Spaniard, in so much like he has this sort of lustrous black hair and this sort of stuff. But again, you go watch the Lynch film, and that's not what the actor looks like at all. So it's actually probably, if you've only seen the Lynch movie and never read the book, you might go, it doesn't look like him. But everything else, like, and even just like what the beats in the trailer, I looked at it and went, yeah, like I know where that scene is in the book. I know where that scene is in the book. Like it's he seems to have stuck to the material pretty closely. I think the only place he's taken liberties is going to be, you know, like the visual effects and things like that. I think the biggest thing I'm interested in seeing is in the Lynch movie, the weirding way is sort of treated as like a more like a weapon, but in the books, it's a fighting style. So it wasn't a technological thing. It was more like a fighting style, so to speak. From memory, it has been a number of years since I read the book, so I'd be interested to see how Denis covers that. But anyway, yeah, look really positive, look really cool. Everyone I've spoken to who has read the book and loved the original film is really keen for this. So, and of course, I love Denis Villeneuve's work. So, keen. All right, is that all the news?
Yeah, it's all the news.
All right, so let's jump on what we've been watching lately. I've actually got a bit of a Santa sack full of stuff to yak on about, but let's start with you, Ethan. What have you been watching in the last 3 weeks? Movies, TV shows?
Well, I watched, on Saturday just gone, I watched the 2005 Fantastic Four movie.
I've got them on Blu-ray. They're good.
I watched the first one.
Okay, yep.
4 episodes of Boys.
Yep.
They're good. So good this season so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of anything else I watched. No, that's about it, actually. I've watched shit all lately.
Okay, that's fair enough. You've been busy gaming and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
And how about yourself, Lucas? What have you watched in the last 3 weeks? Did you catch Tenet at all at the cinema, or?
Oh my god, yes I did.
Okay, so let
me tell you, I played with my tiny little testicles the whole way through the movie, because fuck me, it's good.
Okay, was there, and we're not going to dive into spoilers, did you have any negative experience with the audio, though? Because I've seen a number of reports that have said that there's what sounds like a bad mix or a technical problem with audio. In so much it's very difficult in certain conversations to hear the characters talking.
I mean, I'm going to say it's hard because I saw it at the drive-in, so it comes through the radio.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel yeah, there were some conversations. I will say they felt like they were mixed down.
Okay.
But in saying that, though, I wasn't sure if that was just the radio or if it was the fact that it was the actual mix.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I couldn't really tell you in that regard, but
yep. Fair enough.
Yeah, I didn't really notice too many audio issues.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. In saying that, though, I wasn't looking for them.
Yep.
But yeah, no, Tenet, very good. I will say, I had to look online after we went and saw like a late session of it, and I was pretty tired. We came home and went to bed, woke up the next morning, and I was kind of reading through like stuff that people had put online to kind of get a bit more of understanding exactly what I saw. But like, I'm totally gonna go see it again, 100%.
Okay.
There were some things that were a little confusing, but I think it was just because it was either because I was tired or it was because I legitimately couldn't understand it, and it was way too intelligent for my brain.
Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing. I think it's sort of the film that you need to concentrate on, and especially if you're going to be in a busy or noisy cinema, that could be difficult.
For sure.
All right. Well, I'm still tempted to think. I think I might wait for like a Blu-ray, and then I can sort of pause, rewind, rewatch, focus on, and I think I might enjoy the film better that way. Because I don't like cinemas at the best of times, so. Especially for something where I have to think. I'd rather do it in the comfort of my home. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, anything else like on the streaming services?
So, streaming services. I did just watch that Laugh Out. Was it Last One Laughing on Amazon with the Australian comedians?
Yes. I'm familiar with it.
We watched that yesterday. That was super funny. What else did we watch? So we watched the end of. We also went through the end of the X-Men movies. So.
Yep. I remember you were on those. Yep.
Yeah, we watched I actually watched the super duper unrated cut of Deadpool 2, and it's a little bit different, but not too much.
Yeah, that's the one I have on Blu-ray.
finally watched Dark Phoenix, and that was not near as bad as what I thought it was going to be either.
Oh, we nearly turned it off. It was terrible.
I didn't hate it. Like, that's all I can really say is that I was the same way with Apocalypse too. I didn't necessarily hate Apocalypse. There were again certain things that the film could have done differently and stuff, but yeah, I just.
Are you going to go see New Mutants now it's out?
We're going to go next weekend.
Okay.
We're actually going to go next weekend. We were going to go this weekend, but circumstances.
Oh, we'll hit you up next podcast for a spoiler-free review on that, because that's obviously had some pretty negative reviews around it as well. So,
last thing I will say though is I did watch Bill and Ted Face the Music, and oh my god, that last half an hour is amazing.
Nice. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet.
I will say the ending. There is something that happens at the ending that I called in the first 15 minutes. I knew they say something, and I was like, oh, this is setting something up for later, clearly, and then it pays off. So, but they kind of tease it as like a bait and switch type deal. So,
right.
Apart from that, though, very good, worth the wait. Very nice closure of that
trilogy.
Story.
Yeah. Yeah, I as you know, last episode I was praising Lovecraft Country. I thought it was really good. Like, it was well done. I caught the second episode, and I have never seen a show U-turn so sharply in my life. It was so rushed. Like, and I'm just, I know, like, often we'll disagree, and you'll say, oh, it's not that bad. It is so rushed that I don't think anybody can disagree. It is so rushed. It's incredibly rushed, to the point that I thought that it was a short story series. I thought, oh, okay, we're going to get like 2 episodes per story, and then it's just like 5 stories for a season. And then I saw the trailer for the next episode, and I went, what? What the fuck? It just went from really engaging and good to just fucking terrible in one episode. And I don't know if that was because there was a massive change in directorial, the way they were directing it, like, because most TV shows have a different director in each episode, or they changed the script writers, or whatever have you. But it was terrible. It's to the point that I haven't even gone back to episode 3.
Yeah, I do know sometimes like they film a pilot and they kind of put all the good shit in the pilot, and then obviously like when they after they do the pilot, it gets greenlit, then they do the rest of the episodes. So I don't know if that's because like I've heard that too, and I'm looking at the IMDb, like no episode has gotten above 8.0 from the users except for the first episode.
Right, yeah, because the first one was like a bit of a slow burn, and it felt good. Like, it was an enjoyable watch. And then I said the second one just sort of goes dun. What?
Yeah.
And it's weird things too. Like, I'm not going to get into spoilers, but you know what I mean. Like, say in the real world, and everything up to that point feels like a real world. Of course, there's the monsters at the end of the first episode, which is obviously shocking, and they do deal with that. But what happens next is it's just like there's a spell, and everyone's like, okay, cool spell. And you're like, hang on. If someone did a magic spell in front of me, I'd be like, wait, what the fuck? It almost feels like the second episode was supposed to take place over, in terms of the story, over a space of, say, several weeks. But the whole thing just bangs through in like 2 days. And it's just fucking weird, but not in a good way. Anyway, I'm not going to stay with it. I will try and watch episode 3. I'll push myself to watch episode 3, and hopefully it comes back to form. Because it started off so promising. But, yeah, really didn't like that second episode. I have been watching Ridley Scott's Raised by Wolves.
How's that? I haven't watched it yet. I want to watch it.
Excellent. Keen for episode 4, I think I'm up to, whatever it was, 3 or 4. Yeah, it's very much that, like Moon, it's that kind of factual, grounded, more realistic kind of sci-fi. It rather than sort of, it's the proper research sci-fi, you know what I mean? Rather than just Star Wars sci-fi. And I'm not saying Star Wars sci-fi is bad, I just prefer that more grounded in reality sci-fi, and it's very much that, but at the same time, it's still got some kind of really cool shit.
You watched The Expanse, then?
I did, yeah, I did watch The Expanse. I watched the first 2 or 3 seasons, and again, I really liked that because it was grounded in that sort of, like I've always said when I get these hypothetical conversations, you're never going to send humans across space as we are now. Like, it's just never going to happen. We wouldn't survive. You would send a ship, and when that ship lands, it would then grow humans. Like, it would clone them and then jettison them. You wouldn't have living humans on the ship. And again, like, that's exactly what happens at the start of the first episode in this. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense. That's exactly what you would do. So obviously Scott has gone off and talked to cosmologists and shit, and they've gone, well, yeah, this is what we're going to do. And it's great. It's great for that. It still kind of has almost like a Prometheus David feel to it, because it deals with androids.
Yeah.
And it's kind of well done. There's a few times where it goes a little too far with sort of some of the emotional range as far as an android might go, but by and large, yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm still keen for the next episode. So that's definitely one to watch. I don't know how you get it locally. Is it on Fox or
Binge might have it?
Yeah, it's on Binge. The first 5 episodes are on Binge.
There you go. So yeah, get yourself Binge. And what else? There was some other shit. I can't remember it, so I can't have been that good. But there was. Oh, of course, The Boys. Yeah, Boys, fucking amazing. Go watch Boys. Yeah. Holy shit, so fucking good.
Oh yeah,
so fucking good.
I've only watched the first episode of season 2 yet. We went to put it on, and then just some things happened, and we just haven't gone back to it yet. But we were literally talking about it this afternoon. Like, we need to catch up. So we'll probably watch the rest of it tonight.
So good. Plenty there to keep you watching, and that's the great thing. I mean, we're starting to see new content hitting streaming services, which is fantastic, because we've still got a lot of people locked down in fucking COVID. I mean, what was France? France got 10,000 new cases in one day or something nonsense, and globally we had like crazy. Globally we had like 305,000 new cases. Like, this is not slowing down. So the fact that we've got more content on streaming services at this time is fantastic. So desperately needed. All right, so we'll move along to our topic of conversation. So topic of conversation, I couldn't sort of find a better way to phrase it, but it's really just fans influencing movie studios, and it's a fairly broad subject. Now, we've talked about special editions and director's cuts before, and it's nothing new. It's been around since sort of the 80s, really, even. But what we're seeing now for the first time, really, is fans on social media influencing the decisions of film studios and streaming services and directors and producers and all the rest of it. So one obvious case in point was the Sonic the Hedgehog trailer, which then caused them to change their CG. And another, obviously, is the Snyder Cut is a massive example of that. So I guess we should sort of pull this apart and sort of deal with it a bit at a time. Let's start with the elephant in the room, though. I mean, the Snyder Cut is going to set a precedence whether you agree with it or not. And for those that sort of haven't followed it, obviously there's a lot of people who are very keen for the Snyder Cut, and they are glad that it's coming to HBO. There's others, though, that feel that perhaps, you know, the studio shouldn't be bowing to the whims of the fans, and that this perhaps sets a dangerous precedence. What do you feel about that, Lucas?
For it. Listen, who buys the tickets?
Are they pandering, though? Is there any negative sort of connotation to this? Is this sort of...
I'll be honest, not that I can think of. Your goal as a movie studio should be to bring people in. So, again, we're gonna, like, you already brought it up, and this was something I was going to kind of bring up in this regard, but Sonic was a big one. Do you think as many people would have gone to have seen Sonic as they did had it have been the original design?
Absolutely
not. If they didn't listen to the fans and didn't change the design, do you think it would have made as much money?
No, absolutely not.
That's right there. There's your point. When we learned about Batman vs Superman Ultimate Edition, right? That's the original 3-hour cut that was supposed to be in cinemas. Warner Brothers got cold feet and forced Zack Snyder to cut it down. Which movie's better?
The fucking 3-hour one.
I never saw the original, so...
it's the 3-hour cut. There's a lot of things in the theatrical cut that seem very disjointed and you don't know why, and it's not until you watch the 3-hour cut that you realize why certain choices were made and why certain things happened in the film. Because when you watch that theatrical cut, you're just kind of like, there are some things you kind of come in the middle of, there's some things that they start off that they never pay off, and then there's also some other things that just appear out of nowhere, and you're like, okay, cool, why did this happen? I'm sure in the future we might be getting examples of like bad things that might come of this. Currently as it stands, I don't think it is. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing. We're getting into an age now where everyone has a voice. Social media, people band together and they're like, okay, cool, like Sonic. You know, I don't want to beat this dead horse as one specific example, but you know, I don't think had they have kept the original design of Sonic, no one would have gone to have seen it. The trailer itself looked kind of all right, but the design was garbage. And people vote with their wallet. So if they, by just going back, changing the design, and I know that is a lot of work, especially with a CGI character, but going back and making those changes, I don't think they would have made the money that they did. Yeah, I just feel that the crowd that's coming in and saying that, you know, this can only lead to a bad place, show me a bad example. Like, I don't know any I don't have any examples right now that I could tell you this was a bad move because they're pandering to fans. I don't even see it as pandering. Like, I have the same argument when it comes, and you'll have to bear with me with the
I guess I will come into it, but I guess I could give you an example of where this may go sideways, and that would be because we're not just talking about getting, say, a director's cut made. Let me give you an example here, and it's believable. Let's say, for instance, there's a film coming out, and there's either some whitewashing or, you know, racial miscasting of this sort of stuff, right? And you could have, and we've seen it before, a very venomous and nasty group attack that decision one way or the other, and then cause a change to be made, perhaps for the worse. That's just something that springs to mind as an example of how, if you know, a precedence of production companies bowing to fan pressure.
I don't see it as a bad thing. Here's an example, right, where a studio didn't bow to pressure and suffered the consequences. 2015, there was a movie called Aloha. You guys might remember, I think we maybe have talked about
Emma Stone.
So Emma Stone was cast as a Hawaiian woman.
Yeah.
And there was major outrage. The only reason she was cast is because she was a bankable star. That movie got fucking torched. Not only because it wasn't a great film, but because of that casting. I feel like if they had listened to fans, and there was a lot of outrage at the time. There was a lot of, like, not so much protest, but there was a lot of people saying, why would you cast a white woman for a role that's a Hawaiian person? Like, just at all. Why would you make that call? And it was purely for the sake that was a bankable star. Had they cast a woman just any person that fit that role, there wouldn't have been as much outrage. There wouldn't have been as much negative attention around it. People might have seen it and might have liked it for what it was.
Generic Marvel film. Doesn't matter what it is now. It doesn't matter. It's just generic Marvel film is supposed to contain white superhero. Okay? It's just so generic now. Black superhero is instead cast. People get on social media and complain.
It depends on, again, it goes back to the source material. Okay, so if you can...
I can give an example for this.
Sure.
Hellboy, the newer one. They cast Screen as a character who was an Asian American character in the comics. He, after fan outcry, he said, "Okay, I'm not doing this. I'm dropping out."
Actually,
and then Daniel Day-Kim took it.
Perfect, yeah. This is a perfect example.
Okay, so is that example of sort of negative?
It was the guy from Deadpool, right? And the guy that originally played Darius?
Dario Naharis from Game of Thrones.
That's right, Dario Naharis from Game of Thrones. Yeah, so he found out that the character was played by, the character was a Asian American, and he withdrew himself from the role on the exemption that no white person be cast in this role. And he didn't do it from fan backlash either. It started off initially. It started off as fan backlash. It started kind of initially as fan backlash, where they're like, "We're not going to talk about this." Once it was brought to his attention, he withdrew from the role.
Yeah, but that's a racial minority. Well, in a sense, being replaced, like a white guy stepping out. What I'm saying is, I'm trying to create a negative situation, and you're sort of trying to not let me here. I don't know why. I'm trying to give you an example of it could easily happen.
It's only because the examples you're giving.
All right. Well, okay, fine. You give me an example you give me an example of negative pressure.
That forced the change?
No, not necessarily, but it's completely hypothetical. A theoretical situation where, completely theoretical, a theoretical situation where you started setting precedences today, a theoretical situation where a toxic community makes pressure on social media for a change that doesn't necessarily need to happen, but does.
Okay. Danny Rand.
Sorry?
People wanted an Asian people to play. There was a community of people online that wanted Danny Rand to be played by an Asian guy because he's a martial artist.
Right.
That didn't know the source material. And Marvel fought him on it and said, no, we're not going to cast someone of color into a role because for the sake of diversity, we're going to cast people in roles that they belong, like, you know, that they are that are written for them. So, you know, Marvel have kind of dealt with it two different ways. So in one instance, they did the whole Danny Rand thing, and there was a push to cast a Asian, not even Asian American, just an Asian person in the role, and they said no. But then in saying that, though, they also cast Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, who's an old Asian, basically an old Asian dude. But they use the example there that the Ancient One isn't always, like, he isn't always an old Asian dude. So he kind of takes multiple forms. So that's their reasoning for casting Tilda Swinton. There was initially a ton of backlash around Tilda Swinton being cast as the Ancient One, but they just kind
was
of
went with it. I never really caught it.
Yeah, there was holy shit, there was a lot, because initially everyone was like, oh shit, it's Ben Kingsley Mandarin again.
Right.
You know, that was the initial feeling, because when they, and Ben Kingsley as well, like Ben Kingsley's Mandarin, again, Asian, old, you know, not old, but, you know, older Asian man being played by essentially a white guy.
Yeah, he's British, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, he's white.
Yeah. Well, he's a sir, so he has to be a part of the British Commonwealth, yeah.
But yeah, like, there was a lot of pushback, but at the same time, a lot of people were like, yeah, but it's Ben Kingsley, like, this is kind of cool. Like, that was willing to have been forgiven until we got what we got. But yeah, I just, like, yeah, a lot of the examples, like, you provide, even hypothetically, like, I can't foresee a version of Outrage that becomes too toxic for its own good and causes bad shit to happen. Only because we haven't gotten to that point yet. There's been no tipping point.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with video games, though. I guess there's been some precedents there, and I don't know. I just think that I don't think there's a limit on sort of some of that toxicity behavior. And I guess that's where some of the fear comes from when we allow. I mean, the onus has to come back on the film studios. Obviously, they have to weigh things up and look at making the right decision. If you know what I mean, like, you're going to have to look at each case and say, well, we cave into this, then we lose that, or we don't cave in and we lose this. Like, I guess there's certainly, and it's certainly, I think, something that might not have necessarily been of it. Like, the world has changed. I don't think this was something that was quite as on the table as prominently, 20 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Hollywood runs on money. So if it doesn't get the money and it doesn't get the bums in seats, they're going to stop making a specific decision. However, there's been an over-reliance, I brought the term up before, but there's been an over-reliance on bankable stars to the point where all the bankable stars are white. So if you want someone that's in a prominent role that isn't, that isn't a person like, well, is supposed to be a person of color character, and you cast them as a white person, again, we're like, prime example is the Scarlett Johansson, the movie where she plays the transgender
Ghost
guy.
in the was it Ghost? No, not Ghost in the Shell.
No. Well, there was obviously that, but that's easily written in the sense that she's a robot.
Yeah,
she's not a Japanese woman. There's a Japanese woman inside the robot.
Yeah,
but the robot isn't a Japanese woman. It was the one where Scarlett Johansson got cast as the transgender pimp.
Oh, I don't remember what the movie was called.
So basically, yeah, the movie hasn't been made yet. It was in production, but basically she got cast as this person, and there was a lot of outrage of, you have so many transgender actors, you could make a star with that role, because that whole character is a super interesting character. Is a super interesting person in real life. You could make a star with this and then put them in other big films, but instead there was a reliance on Scarlett Johansson as a bankable star. So
I guess I can throw at you then, what if, okay, here's an example. So take that film. What if there was this hard right sort of group then pushing for, to remove people of, gender or sexual, diversity from a role? And you know what I mean? Like, they would say, what if they're, fuck them. But what if their argument was, well, you've bent the knee to all these demands, you need to bend the will to us, kind of thing. Like, that's what concerns me, is when people start saying, well, they're going to listen to this. Well, here's our 100,000 votes that, you have to get rid of this.
What were you saying? What were you saying, sorry?
Well, I'm just saying, like, imagine that. Let's say I've got 50,000 fucking Klansmen, for instance, that want to start petitioning social media. Now, no one should ever listen to them. But what if they can then sort of say, well, there's this precedence where you've bowed to this and you've bowed to this, we deserve to be heard, blah, 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 you need to replace this person. I don't think I could name a movie studio that would bow to that kind of ridiculousness, but I guess it starts paving the way.
Can you compare that to the several 100,000 petition signatures there were to Game of Thrones Season 8 to be redone?
Yeah, right. Like, I'm just, I think in all honesty, like, social media and having direct access to your fans is a double-sided blade. I mean, in so much that you could put a trailer up and within 48, instead of like the 80s where you'd have to do private screenings and get, feedback from forums, and I know they still do that, but you can throw a trailer up on YouTube and know within 2 days, what your marketing budget should be based on the response to that trailer. You know what I mean? And that's something you never had before, and that's obviously a huge benefit to these movie studios. But at the same time, there's some pretty venomous shit out there too. I mean, while Scarlett Johansson was probably maybe miscast and then was removed from that role, but she's got some pretty nasty shit on social media as well because of that.
I feel like it's acceptable in the sense of if people ask for the studio to change something, if the fan demands it for something, I feel like it's okay if it's in a fair way. Like I talked before, the miscasting of Ed Skrein and Hellboy. If it's something like that, I feel like it's not pandering, it's like an acceptable thing to be like, okay, yeah, the fans are right, we should do this. We should cast this type of person instead of what we have done, sort of thing. I don't feel like that's pandering. I feel like that's it makes sense in that respect. Not just because, like, I don't like this, you should fucking change it. Outcry.
I definitely think there's some of that out there, though.
I mean, Sonic for one. We don't like this design, fucking change it. Sure, it was a horrible design, and it's a good thing they changed it. But, I don't feel like that's a good way to go. To be, people don't like this, okay, we'll change it. Because then they start, you see the precedent for it, and people will start expecting with fucking everything.
Yeah, I guess that's...
I feel there's a difference between pandering and listening to your audience. There's a big difference.
I think it could be fair to say I think there's a bit of a thin line in certain places, though.
Yes and no. I mean, I'm gonna derail it, but it's gonna make sense in a minute. So, like,
Lucas derail the podcast? No, never.
You'll have to trust me on that. You'll have to trust me on this. Right. A little bit of a fan of pro wrestling. Now, in 2000 and holy shit, I need to think of the dates. 14. This one particular guy by the name of Daniel Bryan. 2013 had the fucking career. Also, actually, no. I think I go back to 2012. Had a match at WrestleMania. He's considered one of the best wrestlers in the company. To the point where, like, he was beloved by the fans. Lost his world title at the biggest show of the year in 28 seconds after getting booted in the face once. Flash forward 15 months, he was the hottest star in the company because the fans revolted against the company because the fans wanted him as the top guy. Now, he got to the point where he was able to get to the point where he was in the main event of the second biggest show of the year the next year. He won the title, beat John Cena, who at the time was the biggest guy in the company, and then basically they fucked him again, did the same thing, took the belt off him, and then basically just pushed him down the card. The fans revolted again. Now, to the point where at the Royal Rumble the following year, which is in the January, CM Punk, who was one of the biggest stars of the company, walked out because Daniel Bryan should have won that match. At WrestleMania, 2 years after the guy who lost his world title in the first match was in both the first match and the last match of the night, and he is considered one of the biggest WrestleMania moments in history. Now, because the fans pushed back on the company. Had the company not listened to those fans and the fans had not instituted those changes, that would have never have happened the way that it did. WWE now trying to rewrite it and say this was the plan all along. Oh, aren't we good at long-term storytelling? But that was never the plan. The plan was never to put this guy in a position where he would be at the top of the company. Dave Bautista was supposed to win that match and take the WWE World title to press conferences for Guardians of the Galaxy and all of his movies he was doing. They had to change it because the fans revolted and let their voices be heard. And now that is considered one of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history because the fans spoke out. Now, pushing it back into this conversation, using that as a framework, if people see that something should be changed, or if they want something, they need to say something to make that change happen. Case in point, again, Sonic, Snyder Cut, all these things that we talked about before. The exact same thing that happened in the WWE with Daniel Bryan are happening in movies in much smaller degrees. However, they're happening. And the industry in professional wrestling has changed to the point where guys who were Daniel Bryan size, he's like 5'8" or something and 200 pounds. Where this was the land of giants. You had guys like Batista, John Cena, those massive dudes. There are now changes where we're starting to see a lot more, people of color representation in films, and to the point where, like, this is bad animation, you need to change it, and it's getting changed. At this point, the changes are positive. Until we have an example in real life, not even a hypothetical, of a negative change, I can't see this being a problem. And you can say that really for anything. But yeah, basically that's my whole point, is that the changes so far that have happened within the industry for a long time have needed to happen. It's just getting to a point socially where we're starting to say something about it. And I yield my time.
You what, sorry?
I yield my time.
Fair enough.
Yeah, there are just things that need to change in the scheme of things. Like, Hollywood has done a lot of stuff for a lot of time and not made the changes, and it's now getting to the point where people have realized, hey, we can say something and we can band together, and if enough of us get together to make a change, we can get those changes made.
Yeah.
And some people can see it as a bad thing and pandering and whatnot and bending to the will, but without that audience, you're not going to make money. So going against your audience.
Yeah, it depends how much. I mean, I suppose it depends on how much of it is a vocal minority and how much is a genuine movement.
Yeah, well, like in saying that, the Daniel Bryan thing.
That sounds more like a movement.
It's called the Yes Movement because, he used to walk around and point his fingers in the air and scream, yes, yes, yes,
and
yes.
And the Zack Snyder is, I would also call a movement. Sure,
like you have people buying banners over the top of Comic-Con saying release the Snyder.
Sonic to me is probably more.
It's like
the Sonic thing was probably more a minority, and that is from people who are just familiar with the games back in the day and sort of went, well, hang on, that's not how Sonic looks. I mean, I'm sure there was others too that didn't know Sonic and just said that looks shit. But I think the loudest voices were those that grew up with Sonic and went, what? So
yeah, for sure.
Here's a question. Let's bring Ethan into the conversation.
You look like a rat.
Yeah. Okay, so let's say this goes on for a while. Let's say the Snyder Cut is well received. It makes HBO a lot of money. Could you see a situation, Ethan, where going forward, movie studios and directors or marketing use it as a tool to try and garner more social media time, where they go, hey, here's our film, we hope you enjoy it. Oh, but by the way, there's another cut. Kind of like I felt like the chap who did the Terminator, McGee kind of did, where he was sort of like, I felt he almost looked at what was happening with Snyder and was sort of thinking, well, you know what, make enough noise and someone might throw some money at me and we might get this version released. Could you see that happening in the future where, say, Warner Brothers or others go,
I can't see that happening with Terminator Salvation because it was a dog shit movie. But yeah, maybe some others, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, in general, though, could you see it being abused?
I don't think I could see it being abused because a lot of the time, a lot of movies are the actual director's cut. And it's the actual thing. I think in certain cases you have... Okay, so it's obviously Snyder. He's done Justice League and he's done Batman vs Superman. Both of those have had extended cuts.
And we know that the director of Suicide Squad has also said that...
David Ayer again. And I think Warner Bros. Also made George Miller cut down Fury Road a little bit as well. Marvel, I don't see doing because Marvel generally lets the directors do it and they generally have final say on the movies, generally. It could be something like the Fantastic Four 2015. Could have left that how it was, how Josh Trank wanted to do it. And there's a cut of that out there that could completely change people's entire thought of the movie. I don't think it can be abused because, again, as I said, a lot of movies are the actual director's cut. And then again, when they're not the director's cut, it's only like a few scenes here and there that don't change a whole lot.
Right, yep.
Like if I think, Doctor Sleep was one that came out with a director's cut recently. Like you don't see a director's cut that often, and I don't feel like that's due to fan outcry either.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time it's... Well, I mean, I do feel that there's obviously time constraints played a part in that. I don't want to sort of spend too much time with special editions. I also think part of the reason is they sort of throw in an extra 5 seconds and go, director's cut, stick it on Blu-ray and make you buy it a second time, right?
Exactly. And they did it for the Road Cut for Days of Future Past.
So let me wrap it up with one last sort of simple question. Do you think, between Sonic the Hedgehog and say Snyder Cut, is this the tip of the mountain? Is this going to get bigger and bigger, or is this sort of a more isolated incident and I'm reading into it too much?
I think it's a more isolated incident. I feel like it is.
Okay. Lucas?
I feel like Hollywood is starting to get smarter to its audience. Okay. So they're going to beat outcry to the punch, so to speak, in that I've said a lot of words tonight.
You feel they're going to be more aware of social media and they're going to take more... So they've probably got teams of people scouring social media now for this sort of stuff, do you feel, or...
I feel like, and I'm going to go back to an example that I used before, not a wrestling one, but the Aloha thing. I think if Aloha had been made in 2020, because of where we're at socially, I don't think Emma Stone would have been cast. And I think that's come about because of what has happened over the last couple of years in terms of representation and people getting their voices out there that, hey, this type of person should be cast in this type of role. And there's a lot of, there are also other things of like straight actors playing gay roles, that type of thing, where there's a lot of outrage and generally nothing really happens, which sucks because, even though it's it's an actor playing a role, you could have the opportunity to get people in there who have life experience playing the role. But yeah, I think if Aloha had been made this year, I feel like the studio that made it would have cast the right person for the role to kind of beat the controversy before it gets started. So,
okay, fair enough. All right, I think it's a topic we might actually throw it out there to Facebook. I've said this a couple of times. I think it's one that could definitely sort of get into some dialogue as long as it's done sort of calmly. So I might throw something on our socials and just see what sort of feedback we get from our listeners and what they sort of feel and think. Just more on that last question, sort of, is it a tip of the iceberg thing? That's probably an easy way to do it, just more of a yes or no. All right, well, it's probably going to be another 2 or 3 weeks. What have we got between now and then? Please, Ethan, tell me there's something else to watch.
There is The Devil All the Time coming out on Netflix this Wednesday.
Right, what's that?
Wait, which one's that?
Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson.
Oh, yeah. This is the thing. Yeah, okay, cool. Excellent. Yeah, keen for that.
Yep, Wednesday. Enola Holmes is out on Netflix next week. That's all really for Netflix. Dragon's Dogma, the anime series on Netflix, is coming out on Thursday.
Okay.
The Boys every Friday on Amazon Prime Video.
Yes. And you've still got, I said, catch up with Raised by Wolves on Binge or wherever you can get it. Yeah, that's actually worth a watch, especially if you like sci-fi. It's really enjoyable. Cinemas though, we got anything coming in cinemas now that things are starting to open up? We got New Mutants out there now, so hopefully Lucas catches that between now and next episode because we can hear what's going on there. Yeah. Tenet's out at the moment, so there's 2 new releases worth catching. I know that Russell Crowe thing hit cinemas too. I largely ignored that, where he gets angry, the road rage thing.
Yeah.
Oh, that Unhinged one or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
That's the Michael Douglas movie.
Yeah, hard pass.
I'll tell you what, that was actually playing the night we went and saw Tenet. And there were so many people there to see it.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. We went to Yatla, and
you went to drive to any money
out as we got there, and
they probably just went to see a shit film so they can have sex in the car and not feel like they missed anything.
We kind of saw that. as the process of leaving, and the windows were a bit steamy.
Bit steamy, yeah.
Oh, we should probably get out of here. Actually, I saw American Pickle's coming out to cinemas.
Yeah. They got turned around, didn't it? Because I think it was streaming originally, and then.
What was
it's on HBO Max.
It's a HBO Max movie. So it wasn't. I don't think it was supposed to come out on the cinemas here, but it looks like it is. Apart from that, though, Cats and Dogs 3. I know you'll be excited for that one, Toby.
Yeah, I'll take my nothing to the cinema to watch it.
And I did see too. There's a David Attenborough documentary coming to cinemas. So.
Oh, okay.
That'll be pretty cool. Just looks like a Planet one, but yeah.
Huh.
If anyone wants to go to the cinemas and watch a documentary.
Oh, nice. Oh, especially if it's an IMAX one or something.
I think this was just Event Cinemas I was looking at.
Huh, okay. All right, well, better wrap that one up. That was a good episode. It's a good episode. So it's still probably going to be 3 weeks, I think, before the next one. Just again, until things sort of really. I'm hoping by Christmas things have really sped up. But we've got stuff at the cinema. It might not be the greatest thing ever, but there's definitely stuff at the cinema you can go and check out. There's stuff on the streaming services. It's starting to the cogs are definitely turning now. We are starting to get new content, which is great. So especially for the poor bastards stuck in Melbourne, for instance, that are in week freaking 4 or 5 of locked in their house and going insane. Poor buggers. So we'll be back in about 3 weeks. Up until then, make sure you stay inside when you can. Stay healthy. Put your mask on. Thank you for everybody that listened. Thank you to our Patreon supporters. Contributions are greatly appreciated. Help make this channel stay alive and kicking. We'll be back in the next 3 weeks. Until then, look after yourself. More passion, Ethan. Give me passion. Give me nasty.
Fuck, yeah.